Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Yes, man. It's always great to be able to connect with you. It's Wednesday, baby. It's the best day of the week. I call it Hump Day. So here we are working to get over the hump. I hope you have had an amazing week so far in the life of you. And hey, we're going to finish the week strong as always. Always wonderful to hang out. Thank you so much for joining, as always. And I invite you, I encourage you to invite some of your friends, man. Let's make this a big old party. Let's all just have this amazing conversation. Feel free to chime in, feel free to comment, feel free to ask questions as I share my thoughts with you. Now, I think you all know that we live in a very competitive world. That's just the way it is, right? We live in a competitive world. We're competitive in every aspect of society. It starts at home. Sibling rivalry. I'm sure you have heard of that, right? So it starts at home. It continues in the schools, in the workplace, in the marketplace, in our communities, in the region, in a particular region of a country, in the throughout the world between countries, right? And I think in today's world, technology has this competitiveness has been accentuated because of social media, right? You see people posting all these amazing things that they're doing or that are happening in their lives, and people, feel that they need to compete to outdo the next person. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that competition is wrong. Absolutely not. I think it's fun. Competition is fun. It's stimulating. It motivates us. It inspires us to get the best out of ourselves. But there are always two sides to a coin, and I think as much as there are all those wonderful attributes about competition, it can cause us to connect, to activate our dark side, as it were. And by this dark side, I think stems from the belief that resources are limited. And we have had this conversation before about how, some people choose to see the world as, resources are limited. And because they see or believe that resources are limited, they feel that we have to fight each other to get it. It's this Charles Darwin kind of survival of the fittest type of drive, right? Where it's the strong. I have to be stronger than you in order to get the very limited resources that are out there, so that I can succeed at your expense. That's what happens though when you think that the resources are limited, right? And so in order to stay ahead, we're always, scanning our environment, looking left, looking right to see who's doing better. Man, he has a six-pack and I don't have a six-pack. She has a beach body. Yeah, he's having this exciting career. She is driving the really nice car, always, the paychecks, whatever it is. And this thought process, this competitive mindset, let's call it, can lead to, or this comparison can lead to a kind of unhealthy competitiveness, one that then leads to an unhealthy sense of jealousy and envy, right? Which is what we're talking about this morning. Being jealous of other people's success. Because the challenge with competitiveness, and of course I love competition. I'm an athlete or retired athlete, for crying out loud, right? So I actually do love competition, but it does lead to comparison. We have to recognize that, and when we compare ourselves to people who seem to be doing better than we are, and again, the fact that we live in this social media world doesn't help, right? And if we're not careful, then we can kind of spiral this competitiveness, and this jealousy that ensues because of the competitiveness can spiral out of control, right? And to the point where we're hoping that people will not succeed. We're hoping that ill will befall them, which is unfortunate, right? But more importantly, though, that kind of thinking hurts us, because the jealousy, the envy has a very corrosive nature about it, right? It can have a corrosive effect on our spirit, and really negatively drain or impact our vitality and our zest for life. So, let us be careful about that. I was reading recently, and they spoke about 3 kinds of envy, as it were, right? So let me jump over to my banners here. I want to share those with you, right? 3 kinds of envious friends. The first one is depressive envy. And, the self-talk there is, man, I feel like a loser compared to him or her. And what's happening there is that we see somebody who is doing better than us in our estimation. And because we see that person succeeding more than we are, we then now feel like a loser. We feel like a failure. We feel like their success is a reflection of our failure, our inability to achieve our goals. So that's the first one, envy. Then hostile envy is a second envy that I read about recently. And here the thinking is, you know what, she succeeded, but I bet you she slept her way to the top. He is successful, but I bet you he cheated his way to the top. People who are, I'm going to say, afflicted by this hostile envy take so much pride, so much pleasure in seeing other people fail, in hearing about other people's demise. You can't stand seeing people succeed, or it's hostile. It's really envious at its envy and jealousy at its worst, because yes, you're reveling in other people's success, as if when they fail, it makes you more successful. It doesn't, right? It really doesn't. So number 3, let me get back to my banners here. I was just kind of checking out who is joining in, and thank you so much. Always great to be able to hang with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. So so we start with depressive envy, hostile envy, and now we're on to benign envy. And benign envy, you are looking and you're thinking, wow, that's impressive, right? You see somebody succeed, they have accomplished something, and they impress you, right? So this is kind of a neutral kind of envy, right? You're observing, you're watching the person succeed, and you're admiring them. You're giving them credit for what they have done. But it also leads you to think, wow, I could probably do that as well, right? You're saying, if I watch them, maybe I could learn something from them and become just as successful as them, if not more successful. You know that song, anything that you can do, I can do it better. I think that's a classic representation of benign envy, as it were. Unfortunately, I think most people are, yes, afflicted with depressive and hostile envy. And I can think of like a couple of famous people who, man, I think this idea of hostile envy is killing them. When you suffer from hostile envy, even more so than depressive envy, I would say, the person who you're jealous of, they have rented space in your mind, man. For free, actually. They're occupying space in your mind for free. They're not even renting it. They've moved in. And so the challenge is for us to stop comparing ourselves to others. Yes, I get it. I love competition, but competitiveness does lead to comparison. And if you're not careful, it's going to lead to envy. And the thing is that we tend to compare ourselves to people who are around us, right? They're in our social comparison group, as it were. That's the group that you measure yourself up to. So you might be envy of a sibling, yes, I was having this conversation recently, and people were talking about noticing individuals who are envious of their spouses, right? And I know that happens, and obviously it doesn't augur well for a successful relationship, right? Right, Julian? But yeah, so we're envious of our siblings, our spouses, our colleagues at work, right? As classmates, in-laws, I suppose, all kinds of people, right? And we envy their achievements because we think the possibilities for us are a little bit limited, right? We don't feel like we're confident or we're capable enough of achieving on that level. And so it really, as I said earlier, it is very corrosive. It's very corrosive, and it has this really negative impact on our lives because, we are like, man, I can't believe he got promoted. I can't believe she won that sale. How could this happen to me, right? These people are renting space in your mind. So I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to share some ideas as to how you can get past any envy, any jealousy that you might be feeling. All right. So let me again share some banners with you. So the first thing I would say is that accept that you're jealous, man. Jealousy is actually a very natural thing. So just be honest about it. Why does the jealousy come around? Because you're competitive. Being competitive is good. It's a good thing. Trust me on this, right? In Jamaica, we say too much of one thing is good for nothing, right? So let's not get overboard with being competitive. But being competitive is good. It does lead to jealousy, yes, which is natural. So it's incumbent upon us to go, oh, you know what? My ego just got bruised, man. This guy just cleaned my clock, as it were. It did so much better than I did. And my ego got bruised. But hey, it's not the end of the world because it's so important. Number two, I as well tell people, really work hard. In fact, stop comparing yourself to others. Everyone is on their own path. Every single one of us. We are on our own path, and we have to remember that we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. And in the same way that you are a little bit jealous of John or Mary because he or she did so well in this particular area, chances are they're jealous of you because you have been playing to your own strengths, which represents their weaknesses. You also have to remember, and something I speak about all the time. Look, so you may just be starting out and you're comparing yourself to someone who is, let's say, in the middle of their journey. So they're further along. Or you may be comparing yourself to someone who's at the end of their journey. And here it is, you're foolishly comparing yourself to them. Not recognizing that, you know what, they just had a leg up on you in this case. And in fact, when they finish this leg of their journey and they start the next leg, they are going to be, quote unquote, behind because they'll be starting out and they'll be, chances are, comparing themselves to someone who is now in the middle or at the end of that particular leg of their journey. All right. So just recognize that it is not in your best interest. It's not in our best interest to be constantly comparing ourselves to others. So that's number two. Number three, I would say that you should, since you're going to be jealous anyway, right? Let that jealousy be the impetus for some self-improvement, man. Let that fuel your self-improvement. You're going, you know what? Julianne is so much better than I am. What can I learn? What can I learn from her? Maybe you're watching her from afar, or maybe you're someone who's closer. Pick her brains. Figure out what it is that she's doing. And then, as you go, you embark on this process of self-evaluation. You figure out what it is that you need to do to be able to perform at the level or even better than she is, right? That's how you should be using your jealousy, as opposed to causing it to destroy the relationship, causing you to want ill for her, and definitely really restricting your growth, right? So let that jealousy work for you, baby. And then number 4, you have to count your blessing. Yeah, absolutely, we speak about this all the time, right? You need to focus on what's important, and what's important, what's more important to you than like life and good health. Maybe you don't have as much money as John, right? Or Mary is driving a better car. Yeah, and maybe you do want that, but in the moment, what would you trade the better paycheck or the nicer car for your health? Chances are you wouldn't, right? So recognize that no matter where you are in life, and we have had this conversation many times, there are tons of things that you can be grateful for. So take a moment, take a time out, breathe, and count your blessings, right? Recognize that you have lots to be thankful for. So yeah, those are the 4. Did I say that? I'm going to share 4 ideas with you. Well, guess what? I have a bonus, man. I have a bonus, and it is number 5. Be humble. Be humble. Some of us really need to ditch the sense of superiority this desire to behave as if we are so much superior to others, right? When we perceive ourselves to be superior, I think it's really reflecting a serious character flaw. It's really reflecting a serious sense of insecurity. So we need to do some work on ourselves, man. Just chill. A few months ago, I spoke about, and I played this song, or use the words from the song, always be humble and kind. And I think we need to remember that if more of us can express some humility, regardless of what it is that we have accomplished, and I so believe in accomplishment. I think you should go off and accomplish as much as you can, but you don't have to behave as if you're God's gift to mankind because you accomplished a couple of things, right? What you should be doing with your accomplishment and the knowledge and experiences you have gained from that is try to inspire somebody else to help them reach their full potential. That makes life so much more beautiful than you trying to walk around making other people feel inferior because you accomplished some stuff. Garbage, utter garbage. Always be humble and kind. So yeah, those are the thoughts I had for you, my friends. Yeah, we live in a competitive world. That competitiveness leads to comparison, which leads to jealousy, which leads to envy and envy, which on the surface is not a bad thing, except when we kind of go overboard and we start wishing for. We start seeing ourselves as a failure because somebody else succeeds, or we start to wish that that person would fail. They would see their demise, which is not cool, right? Instead, practice benign envy, benign jealousy, where you go, wow, I want to be just as successful, if not more successful than that person. What can I learn from them? How can I change my game? How can I up my game to be like them? That makes a better world, a much better world. It makes your life so much better, far more fulfilling. So as always, thank you for tuning in. Looking forward to connecting next week again. Where we're at. Started at later this morning. Had some run around to do. But hey, want to remind you to check me out on YouTube at youtube.com/keeponpushingalways. Come over, leave a comment, subscribe, give me a like, all that good stuff. Looking forward to continuing the conversation. Until we connect next week, I know you know what to do. You know what to do, right? You have to keep on pushing.